Instead of talking about one convoluted superhero universe, let's go ahead and talk about another, but this one's a little bit different because this one, well, there's a conclusion to this one. We don't have to speculate as to what's eventually going to happen with it because we know that the Sony Spider-Man-less Spider-Man universe is done. It's dusted. Kraven came, went, nobody cared about it. It was not seen multiple times in theaters like several Sony executives thought that it would by pushing it back. I think its original release date was supposed to be in October, but no. They thought that, hey, this film is so damn good, guys. It is so fantastic. You're going to see it multiple times. Taking a page out of Madame Web's book from the beginning of 2024, I think it's so good. You're not just going to watch it once. You're going to watch it twice. That was their thought for Kraven, and holy, it was the lowest opening weekend for a superhero film, not named Jonah Hex ever, not even having to adjust for inflation. It was a disaster, and it wasn't even funny bad like Madame Web or Morbius or somewhat passable like some of the Venom films. It was just trash. And of course, nobody could have known just how bad it was going to be before it was released, but Sony also came out a couple days before its premiere and said, yeah, our universe is done. So yeah, they probably ended up forcing an own goal on that one by saying, yeah, don't go see our stuff that's building to something because it's done after this. Probably going to end up selling the rights in some stupid decision over to Disney so that they can have all of the Spider-Man stuff under one umbrella, and then when they look over in a few years' time going, why is Spider-Man so successful over there? Oh, I don't know, because they decided to make a Spider-Man spin-off universe with Spider-Man in it. Big shock. What went wrong with Sony's Spider-Man universe? Why it was canceled and what Spider-Man's future is? Well, I can tell you what, because Spider-Man 4 is set to have some news here in the next few weeks, and well, it could be very interesting because there's some rumors that are out there as to who the primary villains are going to be and what the over-the-top villainous force is supposed to be, and well, it seems pretty interesting, all things considered, but Sony's Spider-Man universe has seemingly ended with more of a fizzle than a bang, leaving the future of Spider-Man movies in some question. Not really. Sony began making a shared universe of Spider-Man characters known as the SSU. However, despite some initial success, yes, because the original Venom was inexplicably successful, and then subsequent iterations, less so. The SSU's ambitious plans have come to a halt, culminating in a wave of reports confirming that Sony will cease developing standalone films, with the poor performance of Kraven the Hunter sealing the SSU's fate. It appears the franchise is dead, but that doesn't spell the end for Sony's Spider-Man plans. Yeah, because they could continue to license Spider-Man out and different characters out to Disney. Like, they can go ahead and do that, or they could just do the sensible thing of just going, hey, Andrew Garfield, hey, Tobey Maguire, hey, Sam Raimi, you want to come out and you want to make Spider-Man 4, or does Andrew Garfield want to be, the Spider-Man to our Spider-Man universe? You want to go ahead and try this again? Do this DC style, reboot the whole bitch? Recast the lot and actually have the villains play villainous roles across from an actual heroic Spider-Man? You want to do that? It's money that's just simply being left on the table, but this is Sony. They're a very stupid company after all. Sony Pictures retains the movie rights to Spider-Man and his related characters. However, since they began collaborating with the MCU on Peter Parker-led projects, they established the SSU to run concurrently. This began in 2018 with Tom Hardy's Venom. The film's surprise success at the box office is a huge success to the MCU, bolstered by the studio's confidence in creating its own franchise separate from Sony's Spider-Verse movies and the collaboration with the MCU on Tom Holland's Spider-Man movies. As such, Sony's superhero days are far from over, but its shared universe plans, ended with a whimper. But yeah, that's also interesting, right? Because they announced that with Kraven, everything's all done. But where does that leave beyond the Spider-Verse? And especially with news in recent days of a certain lecherous voice actor attached to this and central to those plans, and no concrete release date for the indefinitely delayed Beyond the Spider-Verse. I wonder if we're staring at a Marvel version of the Batman 2 where, eventually it'll come out. We got big plans for it. Don't worry about it. It's going to be great, right? But something amazing happened after the announcement, or at least the leaks that the Sony Spider-Man universe was going to be canceled, that it was all wrapping up, was that the outgoing CEO at Sony decided to do an interview with the LA Times, okay? And he had some bold claims, a lot of which have left people scratching their head to this day. Sony Pictures CEO confirms that they are rethinking the future of their Spider-Man villain spin-off films. Kraven the Hunter was the worst launch since he became CEO in 2017, and you take a look at the historical data, and it's just the worst launch for any modern superhero film, full stop. That doesn't think they are bad films and blames the critics for crucifying them. What? If we put another one out, it's going to get destroyed no matter how good or bad it is. Well, there's pattern recognition that's out there, and yeah, when your superhero universe involves a universal meme like it's Morbin time, it's also morbing time right at the same time that my mother was killed in the Amazon researching spiders right before she died. What did you expect? It's going to get destroyed. Legacy critics somehow hold all the cards. Tony Vinciquerra, you're an idiot. But he insists Madam Web isn't terrible. Oh, it's really bad though. Like, it's really, really bad. It's funny, but it's really bad. And says the press just crucified it. Let's take a look at some of the excerpts. Outgoing Sony Pictures CEO Tony Vinciquerra is defending Madam Web despite the harsh criticism the film received. Well, it wasn't just from critics. I mean, audiences, like, unless they were in on the joke, they didn't turn out to see it, my guy. In an interview with the LA Times published Thursday, Vinciquerra, who is stepping down as Sony Picture Entertainment boss at the end of the year, insisted that the superhero film released earlier this year, directed by S.J. Clarkson, yeah, that was your other problem, because S.J. Clarkson is really bad at her job, and starring, yes, Dakota Johnson and the least marketable parts of Sydney Sweeney, isn't bad and blames the press for its negative reception. Let's just touch on Madam Web for a moment, okay? I'm sure you'd want to. Madam Web underperformed in the theaters because the press just crucified it. Yeah, that's the reason why it didn't succeed. There's not numerous examples of films that receive middling to bad critical reception that end up going to be box office darlings from the audience. No examples of those ever. Especially at a time when mainstream press and mainstream media's reputation with the audience is at an all-time low. No, it's the press that killed it. It's not a bad film, and it did great on Netflix. Yeah, when people could get in on the meme of this being so bad it's good, watching it for free on a service that they already subscribed to. Of course it did great on Netflix. Rebel Moon did great on Netflix. Christ almighty. For some reason, the press decided that they didn't want us making these films out of Kraven the Hunter and Madam Web, and the critics just destroyed them. If they were good, they wouldn't have, okay? But also, this is also the critics just simply hating whatever's popular, and because they have some unholy pact with Disney. Because let's be completely honest, is Madam Web that much of a step down from the Marvels? Not really. Like, it's worse, but not like that much worse. Maybe one standard deviation. But you didn't see the press come out in droves to deride the wafer-thin plot and characters of Captain Marvel back in 2018. But the worst that they did to the Marvels from last year, well, I guess 2023 now, was just say, oh, it didn't live up to expectations. It's because Sony, generally speaking, makes apolitical superhero films, unlike Disney. Vinciquerra continued to explain how other Sony comic book films have similar experiences. They also did it with Venom. Yeah, and this is where this asshole just totally shows his own stupidity. But the audience loved Venom and made Venom a massive hit. Yeah, the critics hated Venom, but people liked Venom, so it became a hit. Okay, cool. Why didn't that happen with Madam Web? Oh, because the critics hated it. But what happened with Venom? And then you could just envision the steam coming out of this guy's ears. They're not terrible films. They were just destroyed by the critics and the press for some reason. Yeah, we don't know why exactly. I can't get my finger on it. Perhaps in retirement, I'll be able to ponder one of life's great mysteries as to why the Sony Spider-Man universe wasn't as successful as we hoped. Hollywood Reporter's Madam Web review called the film an airless and stilted endeavor driven by a mechanical screenplay. Its lack of imagination would be astounding if it wasn't so expected. Madam Web doesn't concern itself much with a kind of specific background that might lend its characters some depth. The film operates on a need-to-know basis, forcing people to explain themselves through inelegantly breathless exposition. Yeah, but the characters are also like brain dead, okay? It's like a cast of 65 IQ teenagers being led around by a 65 IQ 30-year-old. Now great. Madam Web opened at $26.2 million, yes, which was a recorded worst for Sony's superhero film at the time. And then came Kraven, which released earlier in December and debuted at $11 million at the domestic box office. And at last check, Kraven's disastrous run will end somewhere in on around $55 million, okay? Because these are the numbers accurate as of New Year's Eve, and well, $11 million opening. $11,001,000. Okay, you don't want to discount that much, all right? But yeah, never peaking anywhere north of third place. Oh, Lord have mercy. And then within what? Yeah, 4 days getting down to the mythical 6-digit mark. I mean, yeah, this thing will actually be lucky to crack $55 million. But I mean, how many of your favorite YouTube critics, okay, how many reviewers do you follow, and how many people were actually talking about Kraven? I seen a couple of quick reviews on it, but nobody's talked about it. Like, even when they're doing the end of the year wrap-ups for how bad things are, Kraven doesn't even get a mention. Madam Web might get a passing quasi nod for just simply how stupid it is, but that is ultimately the fate of Sony's Spider-Man universe. I mean, you have Marvel's singular most popular character, and you decide to make a universe without him based on his C and D tier side characters. Like, yeah, I understand Venom. Venom's hyper popular. He's one of Marvel's most prominent and recognizable villains, but he only works when he's squared off against Spider-Man. Ultimately, you tell an entire trilogy, and you very rarely make mention of the fact that Venom is here and is simply imbuing Eddie Brock with the powers that he has based on Peter Parker being the symbiote's original host. It was always a bad idea. The cope, even from the people that are no longer going to be at the studio, is hilarious, and ultimately 2024 will be the year that will go down in the history books as the worst for the superhero subgenre. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.